Data Voyagers.
We often talk about dashboards if they were the final destination of a data project. Build a pipeline, clean the data, create the model, publish the visualizations, and insight achieved. But anyone who has worked with real organization knows that the story does not end there. In many ways, that is where the real work begins. Insights raise questions, decisions require context, numbers need explanation, and very often the most important piece of information lives not inside the system but inside the heads of the people using it. So the real challenge is not only how we analyze data, but how people interact with it, how they add knowledge, collaborate around decisions, and turn insight into action. Hello, Data Voyages. I'm Igor Alcantara. Oi, pessoal. And I'm always joined by my brilliant co-host, friend, and fellow Qlik ambassador, Angelika Klidas. Angelika, thanks for being here.
Hoi Igor en hallo allemaal. Welkom dat jullie er weer zijn.
Okay. One day I'll learn the whole thing. So Angelika, today we are going to explore a part of the analytics, the word that many people feel the need to, but few platforms solve it. And bring on people directly into the data process, not just to read dashboard, but to interact with them, contribute with information, and drive actions. And to help us to explore this topic, we have a fantastic guest with us today. He's a personal friend for both of us, and also a Qlik partner ambassador. So it's an episode with everybody here is a Qlik partner ambassador. So Angelika, would you mind introducing our very special guest?
Ooh, yes. Today, our guest is Mária Oreská. Maria is Chief Product Officer at Inphinity, a Qlik technology partner. And they are focused on extending the capabilities of the Qlik platform through writeback, workflows, and data capture solutions. I had the honor to work with her on the flow at the beginning. So she took the ideas out of my head and designed something for a customer, but which did not work. But anyway, that was the birth of Infinity Flow. But also, Maria is, of course, a famous lady who clicks. So she belongs to the Woman Who Qlik group. And you are a partner ambassador. You have a doctorate in applied mathematics, so you are very smart. Smarter than me anyway. And before moving into the product leadership, you worked as a developer, and that gave you a deep understanding of how the real challenges were there and what teams faced when they were building data solutions. So Maria, as we say in Greek, Marajki, welcome to the Data Voyages.
Čaute, ďakujem za veľmi pekné privítanie a veľmi super predstavenie.
I can say ahoy, jak se máš? Is that Czech or is that always Slovak? Close enough?
Ahoy is relevant in both Czech and Slovak. Jak se máš is Czech, but in Slovak Republic we understand it well. So,
okay.
Dobre.
Very good.
Dobre.
Dobre.
So let me try with the word that it's common for both. Ahoy, Maria. So great having you here. And for our listeners, as you already know, this is the Data Voyages podcast. We have a lot to discuss here today. It's going to be a great conversation. But before we start, just quick announcements. First is subscribe to the Data Voyages podcast. So whatever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, whatever it is, make sure you search for Data Voyages podcast, subscribe to it. So every time we have a new episode, you'll receive the episodes automatically. And that also helps us to achieve more people if we have more subscribers. And while there, if you like the work we do, please give us 5 stars. That also helps a lot. And follow our page on social media. We have 2 social medias currently. One is LinkedIn. So you can go to LinkedIn and you can search for Data Voyages and you'll find our page. And we'll find our articles and videos and podcasts and some cool stuff we sell in our store. So everything you'll be able to find there. But we also have now an Instagram page, and I'm not sure if we would call it page or profile. We have Instagram. So you can search for Data Voyages Podcast on Instagram and follow us there. We also starting to post some exclusive content on Instagram only. And make sure you support us in any way you can, like, for example, sharing, liking, commenting, recommending to people, in the data community, your coworkers, friends, family, etc. And talking about support, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, IPC Global. This episode is sponsored by IPC Global. IPC Global is a data analytics and data science consultancy with almost 30 years of experience helping organizations work with data in a way that actually supports better decisions. They have been Qlik Elite partners for over 2 decades, working closely with customers across industries to turn data into something reliable, available, and usable across the organization. But IPC Global's work goes beyond building dashboards and pipelines. Their expertise sits at the intersection of data, research, and decision-making, helping organizations not only access data everywhere, but understand it, question it, and interpret it responsibly. That includes spotting bias, avoiding analytical fallacies, and using data as a tool for thinking rather than something to blindly trust. If your organization wants to move from having data to actually making better data-informed decisions, IPC Global can help. You can learn more at ipc-global.com. And now, back to the episode. Great. So thanks for our IPC for sponsoring this episode. But before we start today's episode, I have a final quick announcement. And we know that AI is no longer a future concept. It's a current reality. It's here to stay. It's fundamentally reshaping how we use data and how we use Qlik. And to make sure you are not left behind, my friend and coworker Mark Costa, Qlik MVP, and I were both hosting an exclusive in-person training called Qlik AI Predict, Answer, and MCP. So we have actually 2 offers of this training. We have a 3-day option held in the U.S. In the Boston office in late April, and in King of Prussia, just outside of Philadelphia, both in Qlik offices, in May, from May 19 to 21st. And for our friends and listeners in Europe, we also hosting a training in May 11 and 12. There's a 2-day, it's the same training, but it's a 2-day offer. So a little bit more condensed in Amsterdam, in the metro Amsterdam area. So for all of the training, because it's in person, we have a limited availability. So we have limited seats. A lot of tickets are already sold. So make sure you go to the datavoyages.net/training, datavoyages.net/training to register and grab your spot today. If more of your colleagues are planning to go, we also offer group discounts. Just reach out and we'll talk. All right. Now, enough of announcements. Let's get started this conversation. So, Angelika, would like to start?
Yeah, well, Maria, let's talk a bit about your career and your background. So your background is in applied mathematics, which is a very analytical discipline. How did that path eventually lead you to the Qlik or into the Qlik ecosystem and data and analytics?
Well, the truth is that I have seen QlikView since the university. So even during my studies at the university, I got introduced to QlikView thanks to one of our teachers, and actually Mark, who were working with the teacher to bring the technology to students. And I must say that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after I finished my degree, but I knew that I didn't want to sit in a bank and working on some prediction models and things like that the whole day. So yeah, I realized that QlikView back then was a really amazing technology. I believe it still is, right? But there are better
course.
alternatives.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, makes sense, but back then QlikView was like the master tool. So I even did my master thesis in QlikView, and that brought me closer to eMark. But after I finished my studies at the university, I didn't go to eMark yet. I started as an SAP consultant. So I spent the first few years as an SAP consultant, focused on risk management and accounting modules inside SAP. So again, something linked to data and structures and logical models and things like that. But then I realized that I wanted to do something more close to people. So yeah, I moved to eMark, and there I spent about 5 years as a full-time Qlik developer, working on some projects in Qlik, mostly one that I built for a large financial company, financial institution, and it was focused on data mart. So not only the analytical layer on top of the data, but building the whole multi-level data mart from scratch. And after a few years at eMark, partners decided that it would make sense to build a product of our own. And I'm really grateful because they chose me as the person who were supposed to drive the product development and the product vision and so on. So
Amazing. So that's quite some steps, right?
Yeah,
Quite some
that's
steps.
pretty, that's pretty amazing. Now, you mentioned that before you becoming the chief product officer at Infinity. Actually, before Infinity company was created, you were a Qlik developer. So,
yeah,
on those early years building Qlik solutions, what those years teach you about how people actually work with data?
well, back then, I would say that the biggest challenge was to collect all the data, at least at the projects I was working on, that will be used in the future. So it was like they were preparing for the future, not necessarily AI, but some kind of mathematical models and machine learning back then. Advanced analytics was it called? Those 10 years ago or so. So yeah, they were trying to collect as many data as possible, and it also seemed that many people were somehow trusting, like they already trusted the data. And I would say that's something that changed in the meantime, even thanks to the AI and new technologies coming, that we are not so trusting now, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think, I
Or
think
is your
that,
experience different?
I think, yeah. If when I look back, yes, absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of things in your journey that reminds of my own. I mean, we have similar backgrounds. You were more mathematics. Mine was in statistics, but statistics is basically mathematics. And yeah, Angelika, you want to say something?
I think I experienced somewhat the same things, right, during that path. Started out in 2007 with QlikView 7, and then quickly after that, QlikView 8. I used QlikView 8 during my thesis period for the bachelor master thesis. And yeah, I think in the last years, a lot of things changed in trust, in doing things with structured and unstructured data, and so on. So yeah, I think it
True.
has changed a lot, and the speed of change is beyond imagination. Don't you think so also, Igor?
Yeah, no, I believe so. I believe so. And it's what I find interesting. Maybe it's a different topic. Is like um, we the journey that we following always tends to put more and more and more the person in the center, and I think that aligns pretty much with Infinity. Like if we're thinking about AI, before users were very like passive about it, the dashboard. Someone else developed the dashboard and they have that. That's the whole world. That's what they had. If they want to explore something more, they have to know Excel and export to Excel and so on. And I usually joke that there's only three things certain in life, which is death, taxes, and the user will ask to export to Excel.
But that was the only way how they could get
Yes.
to adjusting the data they saw on the screen. So
Yeah.
I
Now
would say it was
we're
natural
evolving that.
habit back then.
Now we've evolved in a way that we don't need that anymore. And with AI, that's even more, because now people are using to interact with technology in a different ways.
Yeah, they even ask questions. I did a training yesterday and people started asking questions. Okay, we have a bad data quality. Can we use AI to solve that data quality problem?
What was the answer?
What would be
Actually,
the answer? I think it's a combination of going back to the source and doing things in bulk edits and so on. The more the things like adjusting a postal code or a phone number, but the real things like why a critical data element, for example, they should do it at the source as soon as possible. So it needs to be on the table, data quality, and I believe also Infinity products can help with that as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it puts the
Yeah.
human side in the middle of the process, which in AI you have to have it. You cannot like eliminate the human piece of it. It is still
That's what I
important.
wanted to
Actually, I
add.
think it is more important
Yeah,
than ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Might not be the case in, I don't know, 10 years, but as of now, whenever you want, I think as of now, whenever you want to use any output of AI, especially when it comes to data decisions and things like that, there must be this mid-step of human approval.
Yeah, absolutely. Human in the loop, always. Yeah. Yeah. So if we go back to the questions, I love, by the way, the side steps. Infinity actually grew out of eMark, right? And
Yeah.
eMark already had a strong root in Qlik, in the Qlik world. Why was it important to create a new brand and venture?
Well, it was driven by customers and their needs. So I would say it's a really nice background for Infinity because it started with people that were asking for the possibility to add their own categorizations and approvals to Qlik Sheets. And as you all know, the answer back then was, no, it's not possible. You could do some magic with variables, but nothing that would really save the data in a structured way somewhere. So we decided at eMark back then to develop the first prototype of such writeback that was developed for a particular customer as an implementation. But as many other customers came with the very same question, we decided to develop our own product that will be configurable and that could be implemented in multiple ways to different projects, different companies for different use cases. So that's where or when Infinity Forms was created. And there was also the sideline about Infinity Mole and another story, but I think no need to go there for this purpose because we have only 1 hour approximately. But that's where when we decided to develop the product. And when you are serious about developing and supporting the product to the customers, you need to start thinking differently when it comes to focus of developers, how it's managed when it comes to support, when it comes to sales, marketing, everything.
Yep.
So it naturally evolved into a spin-off company, now known as Inphinity.
Okay. Can you, because I know Inphinity, of course, I know the products, but how many people do work at Inphinity?
Just yesterday, we had a team call where 20 people were on the call,
Okay.
and it wasn't even all of us there. So
Okay. That's
yeah,
interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
pretty
So
nice
cool.
group of people.
Yeah, cool.
Focused on the product every single day.
Okay, interesting. Igor.
Now, yeah, that is interesting, and people all around the world. Like I have like many friends at Infinity, like in Australia and Slovakia and England. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Now, one of the things that we discuss in here, and one of the ideas behind Infinity, is bringing people back into the data process, not just at the end of the process, but within the process. And allowing users to interact with the data directly inside Qlik, which was always a limitation before Infinity came into the market. So, in your opinion, why do you think the traditional analytics BI tools struggle with these specific? Because we always learn that analytics is like read only. You cannot like feed data back to it, like write data back to it. So why do you think that there's a mentality why they struggle with that?
Yeah. Well, I think that people were always part of the process. If we step back from the tool, we can say that the process itself was always designed and focused on people, right? And just one small part of the process was done in the BI tool. But then the people or the person came and exported the data to Excel file, but the process continued. So it was always been in the way that the results, the outcomes, data, visualizations, reports were processed by people, and then people acted on them. But it was outside the environment where the data was, outside the BI tools. And I would say that it depends on the innovativeness of the BI platform, whether they did understood and realized that this was the need of the people, or they decided to focus on something else. Because as a product owner, I know that you can't be focused on everything, right? So it can be very, I don't know what's the right word, but you want to be focused on many things if you find all of them useful and important and interesting and innovative, and you see the potential in them. But you need to decide. And some of them, maybe even those 5, 7, 8 years ago, decided to be focused on advanced analytics and predictive capabilities or AI or something different than writeback. And then it created a space for smaller vendors to be focused on this niche, because back then it was niche. Today, I wouldn't call it a niche if you want to include a person in a data process where the data is.
Yeah, because it started me thinking like I work now in a company that they use Power BI as the main tool to go, but I never heard in the Power BI world of a writeback solutions, for example.
Well, there are ways. There are ways how you can enter data through their dashboards, but there are Power Apps or some planning tools, but they are developed only for one particular use case most often.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So it's like, yeah, there are options, but
yeah, but because you say it's a niche, but I think it's one of the biggest unique selling points of the Infinity as a concept as a whole, because it gives directly the power as well to the users to interact with the data in a better way. So they are in the middle of the process, as you say.
Exactly. And whenever you change something, you see the impact. So it's not like you export the data or ask an IT guy to do some export for you, and then you change the data in Excel file, and then you need to ask the IT guy again to load your adjusted values and things like that. Yeah, you
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
really simulate and see the impact of your changes on the fly, even without reloading the app if you are using Infinity. So it's like, the instant interaction with data, where the data is, even without duplicating them. Yeah, that's another point of view. So whenever you do export, you duplicate the data.
Exactly.
Is that what you really want to do?
No, sorry.
And also all of the governance nightmare that it becomes, because then if I download something in Excel and do something on my computer, the organization has no visibility on that. In Excel, I mean, I remember there was a very famous study. It was like years ago, very famous study that was done in the in the 80s or something, and it was repeated in the 90s, etc. About these, and all of the data was filled into a spreadsheet. The later version of the study, and then a lot of papers, a lot of other studies reference these original study, and then they have to retract all of them. And I'm talking about over 100 studies, because Excel formatting messed up the numbers, so all the conclusions were wrong. And we're talking about like hundreds of studies published on Nature, a lot of papers. It was a nightmare. So all of the governance, data quality, everything becomes a mess. If that's what usually I say, people, can we export to Excel? I say, yes, but I actually don't recommend it. You don't need it, because you have tools that you can work within this environment with more control, governance, quality, etc.
Yeah, and if I can add another interesting story from my experience when I was a Qlik developer back then, when we were developing the data mart, many things were supposed to be dynamics based on some input. Like the customer wanted to define whether this aggregation on this very particular field would be sum or average, or there would be any exceptions and things like that. So it was all Excel driven, because even me personally, I didn't have a better solution back then. So the whole data mart, combining about 10 or how many different data sources, were built on top of one Excel file on the server. And as this project became bigger and bigger, another colleague joined my team, and we started developing it together. And one day, the Excel file was removed from the server.
Oops.
So and then like, okay, I don't know whether I did something manually or she, but whenever there are more people involved in the development process, things like that happen. And especially if you use a file, something that can really easily be removed, or even by some service or something that was running on the server, right?
That's a nightmare, right?
So
Because
it was.
it was, because I know that some, and I still believe that some people do that in the Qlik development world, that they use an Excel for the variables and everything. But if it's removed or if it's broken, you will definitely have an issue. So it's better to use Infinity Forms for this and give it directly back to the system. Why the heck would you do something like that in Excel, put it on a OneDrive or a SharePoint environment, and it breaks down? Yeah,
exactly. And of course, we had a backup, because I think whoever is listening to us right now would say, why didn't she have a backup? But we had, but it was 2 days old. So we had to restore all our changes, both of us made in the meantime.
My God.
And that was another pain to do so.
Oh my God.
So we lost multiple days, just because the technology we used was the Excel file on the server. And we don't even need to discuss all the difficulties if you want to get access to the server, to the remote server where the Excel file was. So you even can do something with it.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go back to the missing piece in analytics, right?
There
Another
are multiple
question,
missing pieces.
there are multiple things missing. but also things weird sometimes just strangely work in a different way. And I do not understand why this is outside of the data environment. So that's one discussion that we just had. And the other side
I'd
is, I
say
think,
because of the historical decisions and
I think
priorities.
so. Yeah, I think so too. So dashboards are great for insight, but businesses often need to take action and capture decisions and add context. Why has this step historically been outside of the analytics platform then? Just like my story about the Excel and the variables in there. Why? Why, from an historical point of view, did they do it outside?
Because the technology wasn't ready yet to do it inside a tool. And I think, as we already discussed, you both remember how the Qlik
Mm,
Sense was born, right? So back then, I can imagine the whole Qlik team had like full hands with all the development related to visualizations and data model layer and all the data connections and so on and so on. There wasn't like capacity available for developing something new, right? So someone had to make a decision to say that this is what we would be focused on in development. And it was just the visualization part focused on reporting, because back then, when you had a discussion with customers about what's their need regarding data, most often it was to have a nice report on daily basis, right?
yeah.
Maybe even printed on my table with the morning coffee.
Yeah. So if you look at the start of Infinity Forms, it started in during the concept started in your early days as a Qlik developer because you were missing something. Is that?
Well, it was after 2 years or so. I was Qlik
Mhm.
developer, and yeah, it came from a customer.
And
So
then you
I'm
said,
not the one who developed the original product. Actually, it was Tomáš Jančo, my
Mhm.
colleague, who did the prototype and is still the main architect of the product. So yeah, I was the one who was and still is responsible for how it works, what it does, and also the one who is ensuring that it's native, not only for end users, but also for Qlik developers and administrators.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Igor.
Yeah, let me go back a few steps, because let me not assume that possibly most of our audience already used or know what Infinity is, Infinity Forms is. But let's say that someone has never seen Infinity before. How would you explain the value in simple terms to, let's say, a Qlik developer or maybe a business user?
Well, when I saw this question in the draft you sent to me before this recording, I was really trying to find out the best sentence to explain it, but I realized that that's not the way how I do it in reality. I have my colleagues who do it that way, and for example, Simon is the really best person to communicate the value to anyone who approaches him. But when I meet someone who has never seen writeback, I start the conversation. So instead of explaining the value and being too salesy, that's something I really don't like and don't feel comfortable in. So I rather ask, do you use Excel file? I have never met a person whose answer would be no. So yeah, and based on their face and their reactions, then the conversation can start either going to the pains about Excel file. That's most often, of course, because when I ask someone, do you use Excel file? Most often you see the reaction like, oh yeah, it's natural, natural flow of the conversation going through the pain points. And based on the discussion, it's very easy to say that, and this is exactly where Infinity Forms can help you. And again, based on hundreds different conversation like that I already had, it's about breaking the spreadsheet chain. So it's our Infinity motto. As of now, it's our main message, because it's what really bothers people.
Yeah.
So if their production processes rely on spreadsheets, there is a spreadsheet hell inside a company because people create many different duplicates and copies of Excel files. Someone has to put them together, check the data. A lot of mistakes are happening there, and a lot of time is spent on it. So it doesn't make sense to keep doing it this way if there is much better governed solution that wouldn't even allow you to create a copy if it's not supposed to, or that will even validate your inputs before you hit the save or before you submit the data. So I would say this spreadsheet hell is something that Inphinity can definitely help you to break and leave and replace with something much, much, much better and intuitive for end users, especially if you already are using Qlik.
Yeah.
But you both know Infinity well. So what do you think my answer should be?
Well,
I think
we
it's
have,
more governance, right, Igor?
yes, I think that, and I think help. I mean, at least with our customers and internally, it help us think of data sometimes more holistically. And so you think of even the Qlik platform instead of just like something that is at the end of the process. Then it's within the whole process. So what I mean by that is with them like entire systems where people will enter data within the Qlik application instead of just analyze it. For example, all of our time and expense T&E, we use writeback forms. So every week, every single employee, they go there and they enter like every single project OID, how many hours, the expenses, and submit receipts and all of that within the Qlik platform. And that enable because we have writeback functionality. And there was like another customer, a healthcare customer, that we were doing a lot of medical research there. And we're doing like data enrichment entry, like we interview patients and we have these questions that the patient answer, like the survey. We were doing within the Qlik platform. So there's a lot of use cases where you think of the Qlik platform and the data analytics not as an endpoint, but as an ongoing process of interaction and feedback. And that's how I see, and that's how we use it. Now, right now, for example, I'm working on a use case where we're using Infinity Forms. We're still not in production, we're still in the development phase, but we're using Infinity Forms for every single employee to create their own learning path, like with dates and like. So that's another thing within the Qlik application. We have a Qlik application where they will see like all the certifications they have, the certifications that they do not have yet, and resources material, and when the certification will expire, how much bonus they will earn if they pass a certain exam, all within Qlik, and then we add in the Infinity Forms.
Suddenly, an idea comes up for my students, guys.
Yeah.
But I would say, Igor, that what you are explaining is actually something that's the next step, because the use case you just mentioned, the learning path and everything, I'm not sure if that would happen in Excel file or if it's a use case that you realized could be done in Infinity, but without Infinity, without writeback in Qlik, you maybe wouldn't even try to collect such data, right? So there are many use cases that you can bring and think about and develop when you solve the spreadsheet hell. As one other fellow ambassador, well, no, his Qlik luminary mentioned on a call recently, is like Infinity is really great in stopping the bleeding because it's really quick, it's fast, and works well. And when you stop the bleeding, then you can bring those nice and shiny things and new use cases to the company. And Infinity is also good at that, right? So it's like the maturity model of a company based on what are the use cases or what are the needs that they use Inphinity or in general writeback for in Qlik ecosystem. So it's not only about Excels, or it's not only about developing something like business apps for different use cases. I would say that the Inphinity is a platform. It's something that I really like to say when I'm explaining it to someone who
Yeah, because everything is connected,
already
right?
considering it.
Yeah, we worked together with it. We had the flow, we had the forms behind it, and then actually you can also put the uploading of things, so you can crisscross use it. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think it's more of a platform idea concept. You can use them separately, but there is also a whole.
Yeah. Even
Yeah,
forms, because when we
yeah,
say Infinity Forms, it's not just one. I wanted to say write table, but we know that write table is now the name of the product by Qlik. But one editable table. Infinity Forms is a bundle of different type of forms you can use inside your Qlik
yeah.
application, right? So it's editable table, it's editable pivot table with automated top-down and bottom-up aggregations, distributions. There is also this classic form you would expect when you enter data about one customer when you are building CRM system, for example, right? Or one incident when you are building incident management system, risk management system, and things like that. So this single form. And there is also an integrated team chat you can use when you have Infinity Forms. So that's another point of view on why Infinity is a platform instead of just one extension to Qlik. Because we are working on it for 8 years now, so on a
Yeah.
daily basis.
I know already. We know each other already for a long time.
Oh,
Just like
yeah.
Igor, probably. Yeah,
But we are still young.
and we are still. Yeah, we are still young. 3 years to go and 4 months. And then it's retirement, I think. Okay, Igor, do we have another question for Maria?
Actually, yeah. I mean, a lot of the questions actually we in our conversation we discuss and we answer. Now, I will jump to ask you if we can share some news. So, Infinity recently introduced. Actually, when we're recording, this was not announced yet, but when people are listening, this is already official. So Infinity recently introduced a program called Infinity Champions. So I'd like to understand what inspired this initiative, what it is. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, of course. I would say it's no surprise. It was heavily inspired by Qlik Ambassador program, because I'm Qlik Ambassador for third year now, I assume. And I really like how Qlik manages it. And you both know too, right? So they are bringing us closer together. They are bringing us closer to Qlik team. And I'm not saying only about developers and support team, but really to C-levels and people behind strategic decisions. So that's really great, and I really appreciate that Qlik is doing that for key persons in Qlik community. So yeah, after being 8 years on the market and having our own community already, even if unofficial, we decided to highlight or recognize some of the top people linked to Infinity, either customers who are the innovators who see the potential and use cases and the value, and are often speakers at Qlik Connect presenting how they use Infinity for their use cases and so on, but also some technical people, mostly on partner sides, who are those masterminds in how they use Infinity literally as platform inside platform to cover most advanced use cases, like planning across entities around the whole world, or things like that. And we are talking about millions and millions of data, not just
Yeah, I remember
some
a story
small
from,
standalone use cases.
I think it's from the NHS, right? The NHS, Rob, who has built
Yeah.
almost completely a system into in the product. He showed me one time. Yeah, that was really cool to see, because I think that's the true power of the Infinity platform, is that you can actually. So if you have a system, for example, which has basic elements in it, you can just connect it with each other in the Infinity platform and extend the things that you want to register. So I think that's the true power. And with the flow in there, I remember we worked as beta testers on the Qlik answers use cases, and you wanted to pick my brain. And what you did was actually have the flow, Qlik answers, and all the use cases behind it. And from there, at the back end, all the descriptions of the use cases. So yeah, that was really fun to work with you from that point of view. So yeah, I think it's a true platform. That's from my opinion, indeed, as well. Yeah.
It is. And another point of view to add on top of already mentioned points of view, is that thanks to actions and custom buttons and even sequences of actions, you can define what should happen when user does that, when user does that. It also allows you to build the whole process, governed process that guides a person through it from the start to the end.
Yeah. So if you look at
from data collection to data quality to calculation, simulations, approvals, actions, and
control, governance,
and
closing the loop. Yeah. So
exactly. Without leaving Qlik.
Exactly, because everything is inside. So if you look at the product, the suite as a whole, what is next for the platform?
I hope you will come and join us at Qlik Connect.
Of course, I will be there.
Some big news will be unveiled then.
Okay.
And what are you looking forward the most at Qlik Connect?
Apart from meeting the two of you and other ambassadors, and
that's always the best part.
That's always the best part. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Well, as always, I'm looking for all the fruitful discussions, because whenever I come to Qlik Connect, when I go home, my head is like full of ideas based on all the discussions and everything I saw on the presentations. Maybe even some minor comment of someone who is at our booth triggers something somewhere in my head. So it's like the best source of inspiration, I would say, and energy for the next year.
How do you keep up with all the ideas? Do you note them down somewhere? Do you record them, or do you write them down in your phone? Or
well, I must say I don't have a form for that yet.
What?
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Ideas form.
Yeah. We have form for collecting ideas and for evaluating them when we are putting together the roadmap. So I might reuse this approach for ideas from Qlik Connect too. But as of now, it's a combination of whatever I have with my mobile phone. Then I will save it as a note there, and or
I think Qlik Connect is the best place to get inspired. Absolutely, without any doubt. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I will have my own session. So you are all welcome to join the session.
That's
on what
great.
day is
That's
it?
great.
Is it on the Tuesday or the Wednesday?
Honestly, I don't know, but we can definitely edit somewhere here after the recording.
Okay, Igor, you have something to do.
In the description of this episode, for our listeners, you will check that the link for actually my session, Maria's session, and Angelika's sessions. Angelika has like several sessions. Great. I have one final question. Do you have anything you'd like to add that we didn't mention? Any announcement or anything before we close the episode?
I don't think so.
Well, I have
Do you
one
know?
question left.
Go on. Go
I have
on.
one question left. So if we look 5 years ahead, and with the brilliant mind of you and of Martin, because I think he's really a true visionary, what do you think will be the biggest change how people interact with data within the platform?
When it comes to Martin's view, you need to ask him yourself.
Do you differ?
Consider that as a recommendation
Okay,
for
I
the
will.
next
I will.
guest
I will.
to
I
the
will. Yeah.
episode. But yeah, what I think will be in 5 years will be a world of simplified yet guided analytics. So there will be roles in which people will still be responsible for data and insights and things like that, and they shouldn't be overwhelmed by the volume of data that would be generated in 5 years. Even today, I would say that the volume of data is insane to process. So that's the reason why I think that some kind of guidance will be necessary to keep up with the data and development and everything. So I would say, yeah, some kind of guided processes, but most of the people, especially some kind of top managers, will interact with data via their phone or glasses or something.
Yeah.
So I don't think they will look at dashboards or reports on their table. What do you think?
Difficult question.
It is.
I see the world moving insanely fast.
Yes.
Although I know from reading some research papers that just Anthropic just published a paper, and they say that 94% of companies that are doing some kind of AI, but only 33% is successful. So when a company says we do AI and they are using a solution created with AI, like a Copilot or Claude or whatever, they're not actually doing AI, right? And my feeling is that we need to work on the skill set when we look at data and AI literacy, to help people understand that, first of all, we live in a very dangerous world. And secondly, that we always have to be critical in the things that we see as a result, even though it's a result from created by generative AI or a result in a data dashboard. We have to critically assess it and ask the why question. And I think the movement towards AI will continue, but not as rapid as people say that it is. No.
Yeah, I believe the future of analytics will have more AI. And I think AI, which is already happening, it will replace a lot of the manual labor. And I think the human will be more focused on the intellectual decision-making process of the analytics.
The controls, right? The
Yeah.
control elements, the critical elements. I think there is process automation, absolutely, but that's already here. It's RPA, right? We can automate processes. We can trigger things in a process, but actually, and we had that session, Igor, about bias. Automation bias is a very dangerous one. We should not leave things only solely to a computer. So critical thinking for me is one place to go.
I watched this episode just yesterday, so I highly recommend it to everyone who hasn't watched it yet.
Very good.
And there's one more thing I definitely want to add on top of that, and that's the importance of data quality and the context. Because when we are talking about AI, and especially generative AI, right, it generates tons of data, but based on what? Based on historical data. So if you don't correct the historical data, somehow, of course, I recommend Inphinity, but if you don't correct the data, even the generated data will be biased, incorrect, whatever, maybe even missing in some data points. And for it will be irrelevant, or it won't work as great input for the next round, the next series of algorithms that you want to run on top of that.
Yeah.
So you need to ensure that
Right.
whatever data is working on right now, it's correct, because it's not only for that one run of the algorithm, it's for every single future run.
Yeah.
And similarly, whatever knowledge and experience people have in their minds, it's important to have it included in the data. Anyhow, because when I read something on a team message, yeah, I will read it. My maybe 3 other colleagues will read it, consider it when they are making decisions right now. But in a month, maybe even in a week, it will be lost and forgotten in Teams. The same in Outlook, the same in any other platform, unless you have this context stored where the rest of the data is.
Absolutely. All right. So, Maria, thank you very much for joining us today. Let me try Dakuan. That is Slovak or
Dakuan.
Okay.
Dakuan. Dakuan.
Dakuan?
Dakuan. Yeah. Okay. So conversations like this are great. You're a great person, and we're a big fan of you. And that reminds us that the analytics is not just about the modules, dashboard, pipelines. At the end, the data only becomes valuable when people can actually be part of it, can interact with, they can question, they can act on it. They can actually be part of the whole process. And so like bridging the space between insights and action, it's a lot of the real innovation analytics is where it is happening. And it was great to explore that journey and your personal journey with us and our listeners today. So for our listeners, if you are attending Qlik Connect 2026, make sure to keep an eye on what is happening across the partner ecosystem as well. So meet us, the 3 of us will be there. Let's talk, let's take selfies, let's have some fun. Many of the ideas that shape the future of analytics starts there in the collaboration between platforms, partners, people, the whole broader community. And Angelika, also, as always, thank you for another great conversation. And to our listeners around the world, thank you for joining us again on this Data Voyagers podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the podcast, share with someone who cares about data analytics, the people behind it. So thank you, everyone. Until next time, and keep exploring.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay.
Data